Hi, welcome to Real Flix Reviews. I'm Jonathan Charney, he's James Stevens, and
Hello.
the man in his normal position is Ryan Preston.
Yes, I am.
This is the show where we review everything from the silent movie The General to the latest, greatest, craptastic, sparkly vampire movie. This week, we reviewed Lost Boys, made in 1987, directed by Joel Schumacher. And since this was Ryan's picks this week, I think it's his turn to tell us what he thought about this movie.
Yeah.
Well, Lost Boys, 1987, Joel Schumacher. Basically, vampires have come to Santa Carla, and it's up to Corey Haim and his ragtag group of retards to stop them. I don't know how the hell they got involved in that whole thing, other than comic books, but good grief. Anyway, I'd really like to actually start out this whole review by apologizing for making anybody watch this movie again.
As well you should.
Well, I should. Honestly,
I appreciate that.
It was said as a joke last week, and I kind of got just really buried into that one, and yeah, it was all that I could do to sit there and watch it all the way through.
That's why you must think ahead.
I absolutely.
So you did watch it, because rumor has it you weren't going to, and you're going to make us just watch it.
Oh no! You know what? I didn't remember enough of it not to go back and watch it. But I'm actually glad.
That's why I had to watch it too.
The parts that I thought were dated weren't necessarily so much, and there was a lot more that was dated that I completely forgot about.
You know, that's actually the first thing I brought up too. That this movie is definitely dated for the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely.
I completely agree with you on that.
It was kind of weird on almost how self-aware it was. It started to be kind of in the beginning, sort of towards the first and second act, specifically because it really kind of did play on the whole 80s kind of freak culture that was starting to really rear its head since like the English punk phase back in the 70s.
Yeah, of course.
So but it seemed to be kind of aware of, like, okay, this is the setting, so let's play on the weirdness of the 80s in general.
Well, back in the 80s when this movie came out, this movie was seriously cool for what it was.
It really
you
was.
saw a lot of throwbacks. Well, I can't say throwbacks because it was made in 87, but there was a lot of 80s culture in it that was really cool for that time.
So,
right, and it didn't portray it in a really, I guess a dated way, other than the soundtrack, which was just holy crap.
There was one good song in the entire soundtrack, and that was the beginning of the end of the movie. It was The Doors.
Oh, okay.
It was actually a song I like until I heard it twice.
Yeah.
Until you heard it twice? You haven't heard it before that?
Yeah, but I was hoping they were going to end it differently.
Okay.
But of course... So, the one thing I was going to say about this movie is the acting sucked.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this was the Goonies, but just with vampires.
Well, my thing was a few points I had before I got into what I really did throughout the movie yes, it was definitely dated for the 80s, but for the 80s, this movie was seriously cool. I mean, it brought out everything that encompassed the 80s. I mean, the jeans that were butt-hugging.
Both Corys.
Both Corys, and the hairstyles. I mean, were the hairstyles cool back then? I mean, seriously,
they were the hip thing.
Half-assed mullets? They were half-assed mullets.
Were a time of letting your freak flag fly, man, and they really knew how to do that.
And what's up with all the pastel colors? It looks like a box of Crayolas threw up.
Well, yeah.
But hey, you know what? At least it wasn't as bad as the whole neon green, neon pink phase of the 90s.
Thank God.
Well,
I remember
that was a kickoff from the 80s. That was passing over. I mean, that was something from the 80s that was bringing over.
Yeah, everybody was wearing a jacket that looked like something Jim Carrey would wear in the mid-90s on a stand-up stage.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
I don't think kids that are born in the 90s that would be watching this movie now would even like this movie. I don't think they would even bother watching it, honestly.
No, I think you'd get about halfway through, sight unseen, not really knowing anything about this movie, and immediately start comparing it to Twilight and things like that, because really this was the first type of vampire movie that came out that had that teenage sort of angst kind of B story going along with it.
Okay.
And I mean, really, it was everything but sparkly. You know what I mean? Obviously, there wasn't the whole crazy.
Well, hold on. In my list, because what I did through this movie was I created a list of things you can learn from Lost Boys.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he wasn't watching the movie. He was writing things down the entire time.
I watched the whole movie. This is about... Honestly, I'm ashamed to say, but this is probably about the 4th or 5th time I've seen this movie.
Sure.
Wow, you are a glutton for punishment.
Well, I mean, before we had like movie channels all the time, or Netflix or anything like that, you had to drive down to the video store.
So this is the one you choose to rent over and over again?
No, hold on. Let me get there. And on Saturdays, Ryan probably knows all about this, is they would play movies. Saturday afternoon until about 6 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. Saturdays there was movie block that they would play. And this is one of those movies that unfortunately they would put on a lot. So it's basically this one, or I watch, Steven Seagal and another one of his little adventures, or, something worse than that. And I'm sure Ryan knows all about this, because I know Ryan did the same thing.
You know what? I'm a fan of some really crappy movies that I can never defend, specifically because of the Saturday night movies or the Saturday evening.
Yeah, Saturday afternoons and things like that.
Goddamn BC.
So, I actually want to read this list for you guys.
Well, but before you do, I had a couple of questions.
Myself, actually, I want to know what the hell I should have been learning while I was watching this.
So, wait, John wants to go first.
Since his is definitely going to be more entertaining than mine, there's a couple.
Because I have 25 things.
This is going to take a while. My first thing's, I didn't know the vampires made a sound effect when going through the sky.
Oh yeah.
It reminded me of Wonder Woman and the $6 billion Man. Instead of going, instead of that, there were, it was the combination between that and the Friday the 13th sound effect.
I was kind of getting a sort of a little Sam Raimi vibe, kind of from Evil Dead, the way he was flying around.
Totally.
With the camera.
And I love Alex Winter in this movie. Dear God. I mean, between this and the movie Freaked, I mean, I'm not quite sure what killed his career faster. Because it certainly wasn't Bill and Ted's. Look at Keanu.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and really, God, that's a guy's career who's had a lot of roller coasters.
And I don't understand what's up with the hang upside down.
Yeah. How do you get shoes on those feet?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think you take them off.
Vibram 5 fingers. And my favorite part of all time, though, was the holy water in the bathtub.
That was cool.
How many Catholic churches go to steal all that holy water?
Yeah, I know.
Well, see, this is my thing. As I kind of have a feeling that they were cutting the holy water. I don't know if that was 100% pure. I think they diluted that down to about 40%.
With cloves of garlic.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And that bag.
It's a little cocktail.
Did you see that bag of garlic they brought in?
Oh, yeah.
Man. Okay, now here's another little problem I had is they didn't have super soakers in 1987. Really, we were still using little tiny squirt guns.
I guess so. I don't think super soakers were that big of a deal. I mean, really.
They did have those. They did have that Uzi style water pistol.
Oh yeah, the Uzi one from Airheads.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
After like the 9th, 10-year-old that got killed by LAPD,
Exactly. Yeah. And let's see what was any POV flying scenes.
Oh
yeah.
God.
Yeah,
well, the POV flying scenes were backwards. I mean, who flies out of a cave without looking where they're going?
See, I thought they just had a camera up his ass, but
that's a possibility.
I just love that it almost. I mean, I guarantee you ask Joel Schumacher, he's going to claim some kind of stylistic choice when in fact it was really just a lack of special effects. So they just threw the camera on a couple of tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
Really fast.
That is exactly.
Well, I was actually reading on which IMDb, believe it or not, has a rating of 7 on this.
What?
7 out of 10 is the IMDb rating.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm serious.
God, children of the 80s. What is wrong with that?
Wow.
The only good thing that came out of the 80s was James and I.
I was thinking maybe 5.
No, it's 7 out of 10.
I mean, I could see a 5 or a 6, but a 7 out of 10?
Yeah.
Dear God.
But again, it's not quite as dated as I thought it was going to be. I mean, other than the soundtrack, like the actual song that they wrote for the movie.
What, thou shalt
not
kill? Really?
I mean, it didn't really scream. Shut up. It didn't really scream.
Did you see the clothes they were dressed in?
Yeah, like I said, it was taking place in 1987 too. But they made.
I mean, unlike you, I lived through 1987.
Yeah, I did too.
They made a point to kind of. Let people know, like, even the filmmakers thought that this kind of dress was sort of freaky, and there was this group of people. They kind of had the little montage scene in the beginning that showed everybody in their weird little cliques they were hanging in and stuff.
So I think we should get back to see what James is 25 what we should learn is, because I was
Okay.
begging him to say something, and he wouldn't tell me.
No, I kept all of this under wraps from John. So he's hearing this stuff for the first time too. So the first thing that you learn from the Lost Boys is that it's okay to take candy from a vampire lord. I mean, that's the first thing you learn.
But you don't. But as long as you don't invite him in your house.
Right.
Hold on, I'll get. I don't even think I touch that one.
Finally, I got something
Okay.
he didn't.
Another thing is that comic book authors know more about myths than any normal person.
Absolutely.
Vampires should become auto dismantlers. I mean,
That's a
how
good
easily
point.
did they take off those doors and the roofs? I mean, geez, that was in a split
to be
second.
fair, they actually grabbed the guy, and for some reason, he was able to drag that door
I
off.
know. I thought that was kind of
Talk
interesting
about
too.
kung fu grip. I mean,
I know.
seriously.
Really?
Another one is never pass up free comics. They could save your life.
Absolutely. That's just good advice for anything.
I know.
Great. So next time I'm underwater, my Sequest DSV comic's going to do me a lot of good.
Exactly. See, you never get rid of that comic book and study it. Seriously, study.
Just what I need, a talking dolphin.
I know. Dirt bikes are chick magnets.
Maybe in
Who
1987.
knew? Pot makes vampires stoned.
Right.
They were smoking pot and they were enjoying
yeah.
it. I mean, seriously.
And eating noodles and rice.
And to get into the Lost Boys 80s Vampire Club, you have to pierce your left ear.
Well, I think that was just to get into the 80s.
That was probably true. But the other point is, why don't the ears heal?
They have the earrings stuck in there.
Yeah, but shouldn't it heal around the earring?
It's silver.
It probably did.
Silver.
Probably did heal around the earring. It's just part of them. You know,
okay.
like that lady who had the toilet seat growing to her ass.
Oh, that's true.
I was going to say the drinking the blood.
That can go with any vampire myth. I mean, any vampire myth has something where you have to drink a vampire
I've never
blood.
heard you drink the blood without getting bit.
Well,
no, they're
They've gone back and forth on,
Yes.
on that lore. You can drink the vampire's blood and become a vampire, but usually it's the whole they have to half kill you and then bring you back to life.
yeah,
with
exactly.
blood.
But this one, they didn't really do that unless they were supplementing that him jumping off the bridge was him actually dying. I don't know. There's a few little debate things that I didn't want to get into the vampire lore on a
You
couple
know what?
things.
They really went just really basic, kind of what everybody thinks they know about vampires.
Yeah.
They went right down the middle of the line.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I didn't pick on the vampire lore too
And it
much.
was the 80s, so the line was pastel.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so Windex is handy after shaving a pinch.
God, that would burn.
Yeah.
You imagine shaving, then spraying that on your mug?
Okay, this one was kind of curious. A dirt bike horde can create hurricane-style winds.
Yeah, I'd like
That
to know
was kind of
what
amazing.
mufflers they had on those bikes to.
I know.
I mean, it sounded like it really was like somebody was outside with leaf blowers and flashlights.
Exactly.
Well, because they were.
I'm sure that was the effect that was used. Goddamn Joel Schumacher.
Yeah.
And those were big flashlights.
I'm telling Mom works on some vampires. This is a curious one. Long fingernails, bad breath, and sunglasses during the day mean you are a vampire.
Man, when I was a kid, that just meant you were a crack addict.
Yeah, but I mean, that's...
That just makes me feel like I'm at work.
I know. Doesn't it? There's like so many people that would fit that profile. I mean, who...
Gosh.
I mean, dear God, people wear sunglasses during the day?
Wow, when did this start?
I know.
Well, indoors during the day. Don't forget that.
No, it was even outside. They didn't suggest indoors. I mean, Rambo, dude, didn't suggest, young
Oh,
Rambo.
true. And by the way, what was up with that? He one episode, one part of the movie had a red one. Next one had a blue one,
I don't know.
and then he had all that face paint.
Okay, I was getting to that. Hold on, I'm gonna get to that. That's one of my little points in here.
Damn it!
Okay, vampires love eating surf Nazis. Well, they listen to Aerosmith. Now, my thing
Well, who
about
doesn't
that,
like to eat surf Nazis while listening to Aerosmith?
Well, at least
that's actually the character name in the movie was Surf Nazis.
Surf Nazi number 1 through 4, I believe.
I
it
know.
was.
I love the name. I love the song though. Walk This Way. At least it was a good choice in songs.
Yeah, but it was a
yeah,
weird
could've been
version.
like the Aerosmith songs.
But that was a weird version of Aerosmith.
Yo, that was
Well,
the
it
one
was
with
the
the two
guy singing
rappers.
it.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Okay, my next point is phone cords The ones that plug into the wall, the old ones, people might not remember what they are, but watch the movie, they have phone cords.
And Google phone cords.
Yeah, but they are strong enough to keep you from being sucked out of a house by some strange vampire beckoning wind.
Yeah, by a hurricane force wind, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, like, where did this wind come from?
Right off their feet.
I know. Where was this wind taking him, and why was it sucking him out of the house?
What was that cord made out of?
I know. Geez.
It was to that Kiefer Sutherland's character. What's his name? Dave?
Yeah, David. I think it was Dave or something.
And you kept hearing this semi-erotic, Michael.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, how is it that Kiefer Sutherland, out of that movie, became such a breakout star eventually? I know. I mean, out of all the people.
I loved him in 24, and The Confessor.
People really went on to go do some bizarre things, and some actually had careers.
Yeah, like Kiefer. Kiefer actually had a career.
And then Michael
is continuously impressing everybody with his 24
He is. And then Alex Winter went on to do Freaked.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he went on to do Freaked. Obviously, Corey Haim went on to die in a hotel in Burbank.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Corey Feldman, I think Corey Feldman ended up, well, I mean, obviously from Stand By Me and and what's it called? Ended up doing another Lost Boys.
Two of them. There's three.
Yeah, there's three.
No, they're right. There's three Lost Boys. Right, exactly.
So what were your other points? Because I'm dying to hear the rest of this.
When a woman wants to keep something from you, she will give it up or have sex with you to make it better. Remember that scene where he was asking her questions? He's like, "What's going on with me?" And she just all of a sudden here, "Let me kiss you."
Yeah.
And then it led to him getting laid.
And that really weird flying scene. Well, all of a sudden, in the middle of nowhere, there were clouds.
Yeah. Because he was on cloud 9.
You're fired. Seriously, dude?
I agree. There was only one way to deflect that type of questioning, though. It was just immediately just...
Get laid?
Yeah.
Here, let's get your other head working.
I gotta remember that next time I become a vampire...
Okay, sunglasses protect young vampires from the sun. Did you notice that?
Well, half a vampire.
Well, yeah, he was half a vampire, but normally in vampire lore, you burst into flames.
Right? Well, that means he should be half smoking.
Yeah, his skin
smoldering,
should be burning
actually.
Or something. Right. Searing boils, I don't know. Ooh. But sunglasses keep you from that. Wow.
Yeah, instead he just got a little bit of a little weakness, a little lightheaded.
The next point is vampire lords cannot tell the difference between grated Parmesan and chopped garlic.
Yeah, I could notice the little sheen off the garlic when he was sprinkling it on there.
I know.
I'm like, dude, you might want to look at what you're just sprinkling all over your food there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was going to say those are really flat, funky looking Parmesan.
Yeah. The next one is vampires, and we discussed this a little earlier, sleep upside down and very soundly. I mean, seriously, everybody was like yelling and screaming, "Oh, look at those vampires hanging upside down! Let's stake him! No, hold on!" Dude's still like, you know, I'm seriously, I'm gonna wake up.
They must have ate somebody. They must have had somebody who ate a lot of turkey beforehand, like tryptophan or something.
Yeah, no joke.
Because they were yelling at the top of their lungs the whole time. They're like, "Shh, shh, shh."
I know.
It's like, that's the loudest shh ever.
And I think Corey Feldman brought up in that little scene that the whole place was one giant coffin.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I've laid in bed and been able to just be kind of sleepless. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily, you know, it's not like I immediately wake up and just run outside.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The other one is a high school freshman can smell vampire. Did you notice that part when they're like...
What part was that?
Right before they staked
was it Alex Winter?
Yeah, Alex Winter.
Well, they were smelling for his breath.
Yeah, well, they were smelling and they're like, I can smell them. Those are vampires.
I love the part when they were killing the vampire scene in the kitchen when it had the Ghostbusters 2 like regurgitation.
Oh, yes, hold on, I'm getting to that one too. The other part of that scene where they killed the vampire, they staked Alex Winters, is, I didn't know this, but vampires are filled with gelatinous, sparkly goo.
Oh,
now if you notice when that goo...
Gallons upon just fire hose gallons of that stuff.
When it fell on him and then he runs outside, if you look at his hat, it's all sparkly. I don't know if you guys caught that, but there was sparkles in his hat. You got to watch that scene again. It sparkles in the sun.
So that means that's pre-Twilight form.
Exactly.
But also that you might be able to chalk that up with just the really crappy blood effects that everybody had to use in the 80s.
Yeah.
It just seemed like people were watering down like red wine or something like that.
That's true.
Come on,
that is true.
That looked like light maple syrup. I mean, that's about the same about color.
Now, John brought this next one up a little bit. Taking holy water from churches is socially acceptable. Did you notice nobody said anything?
I think it is socially acceptable. I've
You think
worked
it
a lot
is?
of funerals, and people will literally walk into the back of churches, of Catholic churches, and fill up their little bottles.
Are you
Obviously,
serious?
they're not canteens, but you know they have little bottles that they'll fill up and take home and whatnot. I'm sure everybody was wondering why they were doing it in the middle of a christening.
Well, that was kind of cute.
Well, yeah, but like, I can understand a little bottle, but 3 canteens?
Well, nobody said anything.
Yeah,
they got a few
At
looks.
least the priest had this look on his face like, you know what? Anybody who needs holy water that bad, stop. You know, there's got to be a good reason.
Yeah, okay.
It's a hell of a reason to need that much holy water.
But you know what? If you're a Catholic priest and you're just there blessing holy water, you're not going to ask why people need that much. You're just going to assume it's something pretty serious.
All right. Okay, maybe. But I didn't know that taking that was socially acceptable. I didn't know that. But I don't go to Catholic churches and just like
and running in there, you know, like with 3 people dressed in war paint might be a little social faux pas.
And that's another thing is that I didn't know it, but face paint can be intimidating to vampires. Did you know that?
Yeah, face paint and 13-year-olds.
And bad
no
acting.
joke.
I think the acting scared them off more than the holy water.
All right, now you brought this one up about the vampire dying in the bathtub, but I didn't know, and this is one of the things I wrote down, that when you kill a vampire in a bathtub, it's equivalent or worse than flushing an AM80 down a toilet. Did you notice that? I mean, the whole house, everything just exploded. And that might be what you brought up, is the fact that, they have gallons and gallons of all this goo and stuff that happen when you kill a vampire. I didn't know that.
So that's where Quentin got all his backup blood.
Oh, yeah, for Dust Till Dawn, man. Come on.
I love how the blood came shooting out of everything, It was just like, seriously?
I just loved how anticlimactically that Keith Sutherland's character died.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was weak.
Now, I got one more death that I wanted to bring up before that, and this was the pinning a vampire to a stereo system with an arrow. I didn't know that it made all the extremities fall off. Did you know it's like the legs popped off, the head blew off, the arms fell off? I mean, geez.
I didn't know a wooden arrow carried electricity.
Well, it wasn't a wooden arrow. It had a tip to it.
That must have been a big tip to not only travel through the stereo to hit a wire, but somehow still remain in him and electrocute him.
Yeah.
I'd just like to point out that we are trying to find inconsistencies with Joel Schumacher movies.
It's not
I do this all day.
It's not an inconsistency. These are just things I didn't know. It's different.
Wow.
It's different. These are things you can learn from watching this movie. Okay, I got 2 more left. That vampires are distracted by funny horns. When he was going to go bite Lucy's neck, he's like, right. I mean, his teeth are just about to sink in. All of a sudden, and he's like, "What the hell is that?" It's like, really. That's the way to distract him. I mean, personally, if I was him, I'd just be like, "Hold on, I'm busy." Seriously.
And what was up with the quadruple teeth? You see, one of them had like 2 teeth. Or 2 teeth on each tooth, or bitey thing.
I don't know. And then the last and final point of this movie that you can learn is that always remember that vampire lords are highly explosive.
Yes.
Better than an M80.
I mean, that explosion, that was like a RPG going off in the middle of the house.
Yeah, right in the fireplace.
I know.
I love the old guy's reaction to that, going, "One thing I hate about Santa Clara, the damn vampires." He doesn't mention it through the entire movie.
Yeah, and then at the end he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm a vampire hunter."
Shut up.
I know. It's like, we could have used you.
And all those stuff.
Let's invite my daughter and her 2 kids down, with the dog to come and hang out with the vampire crowd.
I love
you really glossed over the whole fact that, hey, Grandpa, isn't this the murder capital of the world? Yeah, it's got its bad elements.
Yeah, if everybody that died rose up from the dead. Okay, go ahead. You say, because it seems to be cutting you off a little bit.
No. Go ahead. I was.
All I was going to say is that point that you brought up in the beginning. Yeah, if everybody rose up from the dead, we'd have a population problem.
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean?
I want to know what he does for fun, considering all those stuffed animals he keeps giving his grandson. He opened a closet with him one time when it was filled with all sorts of random animals. He doesn't go anywhere. Where the hell does he get this stuff?
I don't know.
He's the local taxidermist, apparently.
Yeah, obviously.
And how the hell is that kid, is Corey Haim's character not completely fascinated by his grandfather boiling heads and stuffing animals in the back of the house? I would be endlessly in the back of that thing like, Grandpa, what are you doing now?
What are you
stuffing over here?
Well, you are kind of creepy. I mean.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was just... There's like so much wrong with this movie that, I mean, it's if you're going to watch this movie, you have to take it with a grain of salt and just get over the fact that there's so many different things that are wrong and stupid and goofy about this movie that you just have to entertain yourself by watching it.
So absolutely.
So with that diatribe, Ryan, what do you give this movie?
You know what? I'm giving it a 2 because Joel Schumacher and honestly, I think Richard Donner, who produced it, was the only saving grace as far as kind of, sort of giving it that self-aware of the 80s. Like, yeah, we know that this is kind of about freaks, because obviously he was coming off of the Lethal Weapon type of thing, and it's an older cat that we're talking about, not a somebody who's really trying to glorify the 80s, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It's kind of hard to glorify the 80s.
Well, but a lot of people tried.
Well, I don't know, that greased down monkey that was playing the saxophone at the beginning of the movie was kind of glorifying the 80s.
You know what? I wasn't going to bring that up. But
I'm sorry I had to.
Yeah, we both know Ryan was oogling him.
Bloody hard to watch.
Yeah, what? Really? Wasn't it? I mean, he was humping everybody off the stage. I mean, he really was.
So James, what is your score?
Well, now, as you guys probably remember from my previous ratings, I'm pretty hard on movies. I'm not going to give anything. But as far as just to kind of find this movie as goofy as it is, and not taking anything in this movie seriously, because if you do, this movie's going to let you down.
Oh, yeah.
Hard time.
So with that in mind, I give it a 2. Which is better than I usually give a lot of movies. So,
and looks like I'm the strange man in this one. I gave this movie 3 because it's freaking hilarious. Unintentionally, it's unintentionally funny, but this movie is absolutely hilarious with all the random stuff you see in this movie. And the guy who played the vampire lord.
Yeah,
the last movie I saw him in was Richie Rich with Macaulay Culkin.
What it was. He was the father in Richie Rich. Yeah. God, I was trying to place that the whole time.
And he does a lot of voice work. He has a great voice, but this movie was hilarious. Absolutely. If you want a good laugh for a vampire movie, this movie is absolutely worth it.
Yeah.
Right. So it looks like Real Flix Reviews gives this an average score of 2.3. What that is that's the combined score of Ryan's, James, and mine. So with 2.3, it's not real. Would you recommend this being with our rating?
Would I recommend something? Okay, the way I look at it with this movie is one of those movies that if you haven't seen it at all, ever, you should at least watch it.
It's
something that you should have in your repertoire.
Camp value, I think, at this point.
Exactly. It's one of those cult classics that you really can't talk to somebody who was either born, lived through, or anything like that, the 80s, and say that you haven't watched this movie.
Right.
It's one of those movies that it's like to earn your stripe type of thing.
It's kind of a predecessor to a lot of the vampire stuff that we've seen nowadays. Obviously with the Twilight thing, with the whole, the teenage angle, I guess, of the vampires is what they really laid on.
But on the other hand, it's a very proud moment of mine of never being forced to see Titanic. Well, and a lot of people will say, that to see good movie you got to see Titanic, which I've always vehemently disagreed with.
Who says this?
I've heard a few people say, yeah. Well, it's the same way with 2001.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Well, the only reason to see 2001 is see a movie in the 60s that had amazing special effects.
Well, the only reason to see those movies, stuff like 2001 or Titanic, is just to get the jokes that you've missed, throughout all the pop culture references and things.
Exactly.
But 2001 is a Kubrick, though. I mean, that's one that is a good one. I mean, it's a Kubrick.
And, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming towards the end of our show, and since what we do is James, I, and Ryan pick a movie every week, and then the last movie of every month is we go see a movie in theaters. And so it looks like next week we've decided to go see Lockout with Guy Pearce. It's about Guy Pearce, who's a convicted felon or bad guy, having to rescue somebody from a space station. So far, it's
a maximum security space station.
So far, it sounds like the movie was it The Castle Across with Spaceballs? Sure, should be fascinating. Oh, The Fortress, maced with Spaceballs.
I was gonna say it's like
with a little bit of The Rock thrown in there.
Oh, yeah, exactly, with no Nicolas Cage, thank God.
Right.
Actually, I like The Rock, but that was only because
Sean Connery.
Yeah, exactly.
So for Ryan Preston, James Stevens, and I'm Jonathan Charney. Have a good week.
Hi, I'm Rob Charney, Old Guy Tech TV, and I'm here to talk to you today about Windfall and the El Dorado County Fair. The largest event of El Dorado County will soon be here. Don't miss this opportunity to promote and build your business by advertising in the 2012 El Dorado County Fair Guide, published exclusively by the Windfall. The El Dorado County Fair Association is very excited to partner with Windfall again this year. Last year was such a success, we are thrilled to work with them again. The exposure that the El Dorado County Fair has in our community is amazing. We don't want you to miss it. Jody W. Gray, CEO of El Dorado County Fair, just told us this. So distributed in the Windfall and El Dorado Hills Telegraph, June 8th, 2012, and available to the public at the welcome information booths at each entrance during the fair. This user-friendly guide features a map of the fairgrounds, event, vendor locations, and includes the schedule of events. Reservations are required, space is limited, circulation is 20,000 plus copies, and the deadline is 5/25/2012. So make sure you get your ad into the Windfall today. Tell them Rob sent you.